Doubleheader Miami football talk here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. So welcome in, and my apologies for the change of start time. What happened was Cam and I were set to go at 8 o'clock Eastern time. He had some things come up. We changed to 7. I hope he can still make it. We had a back and forth via email about 90 minutes ago, and hopefully we will have Cam on the line here in just a few minutes, but it had reached 7:04, so I thought I better jump on here and make sure everybody's in good shape and start up the live stream. So you got me, if nothing else. You got me for the next hour or so, or for however long, and once we started to talk elite status and relevance and all those other things after the wholesome one left us on the previous live stream, who knows how much will be in the live chat debating and discussing Miami football, both present and past. So again, we await Cam Underwood, State of the U. Hopefully he'll jump on board with us tonight. I can certainly dive in the live chat. I have so many ridiculous comments and good comments and insightful comments and idiotic comments and all sorts of comments. We've got the full array that have been left here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and on the Miami channel. So I would hope everyone who's watching us right now has subscribed. So subscribe here and also head on over to our Miami channel and subscribe there as well. We were left on the sideline for 30 days. Many of you have an idea to a certain extent what happened there for 30 days. So that has held us back considerably. The growth of the channel suffered considerably during that time, where we typically pick up 700 subscribers, something like that. So even though I've been back for almost a week now, actually it's a week later tonight that I've been back, the subs have not been coming our way as they had in the past. So it's one of those deals where the YouTube algorithms have to keep circulating, generating, and when you shut down for a week or for 4 weeks, for a month, then it's going to hurt for even more than just that 1 month. So get your friends here, get your family here, any college football fans that you know, bring them on to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and I thank all of you for joining. So let's get into the live chat, and again, we hope Cam is on his way. All right, Bo Weevil's on the line. Bo, stay tuned over on Patreon. Stay tuned on Patreon. I've got a special message for you and everybody else on Patreon coming up later tonight or maybe tomorrow. But within the next day, I have a special video to cut that I had hoped to get to sometime today, but then I spent my last couple hours dealing with medical insurance and all sorts of good stuff like that. So, again, patrons on our Voice of College Football community, please check out the video I'm going to post here soon. We posted a video with Steve Merrill on Week 7 betting lines. It's always a good take for those of you that like to throw a couple bucks on the games. So good to see you, Bo. Good to see you as well, David. Ronan. This is exceptional right here. So we got Ronan on here twice today with Super Chat contributions. Thank you so much, Ronan. We appreciate it. Just here to donate and support. I think Ronan's caught the vision. He understands what we're trying to build here and what we're facing in regards to the challenge of building out a channel on YouTube, several channels on YouTube, and one guy doing it right now, and we hope to get more involved. But we've got Miami covered, that's for sure. So, Ronan, thank you so much. It is so much appreciated. I cannot express it. Again, we'll rewatch tomorrow if it's too late for me. I think it's 1 a.m. You said earlier today that this 8 o'clock Eastern time live stream would be at 1 for you. So now we backed it up to 7 o'clock. So hang in there with us or watch tomorrow. Mr. HD on the line. Been waiting all week to hear from Cam, the GOAT. Cam's exceptional. That's why we bring him on as much as we possibly can. Hopefully we'll get him tonight. Again, we had slated this, if you caught the notifications, for 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight. Cam had some things come up in which he needed to switch to either earlier, so that's why I'm here right now, or possibly tomorrow, and hopefully we've not miscommunicated. But I had sent him that 7 o'clock would be good with me. All right. Yes. Miami rebuilding for 20 years, or about 16 at this point, to be precise, Phil. To be precise, you guys are working on about 3 or 4. We've got David again, better off donating through Cash Apps, YouTube. All right. So, yeah, truth be known right there. Certainly, David, I would encourage everyone to go to Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo. Search Mark Rogers TV. It's easy. You'll see my picture. You've seen me a few times here, so you should be familiar with what the avatar looks like. So you shouldn't be confused there. Mark Rogers TV, Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal. That would be exceptional. Thank you, David. Oh, there we go. And certainly the one that we've all been waiting for here. So, Cam, just let us know when you're ready to roll, and I will continue to go through the live chat here. Heminol for life. Miami is back. David, let the onslaught begin. Don't know what that's all about. Good to see you, Cheryl. Box of Kleenex. Okay, we don't need that. Let's go. I need to pre-read before I actually spit it out sometimes. I haven't learned that after 10 years. Cam, how you doing tonight? Cam, we can't hear you. Hopefully that's just a click away. Hopefully.
How about now?
Oh, we got you.
There we go. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. As you can tell from the background, El Piano behind me, and a box on top of it, moved into the new digs and everything. So a different little background and everything. But no, I'm good, man. Just been working the secret day job and everything, getting back in here and blogging a little bit, opening a nice adult beverage, as I heard that probably heard that.
Heard it.
Exactly.
You know what this tempts me to ask you to do, Cam? And if you keep the shot up and you're shooting from the same angle, the same camera angle each week, it's going to come up at some point that I'm going to be tempted to ask you to jump on back to the piano and
oh God.
Yeah.
I do. I need to practice a little bit more.
You just need to hit a few chords and then, do some singing for it.
Nah, I don't know about all that. But I'm someone who plays the little piano. I'm not a piano player. You know what I mean? And I have friends who, they do it like you live and breathe, just easy as you like. And I'm not that. I do have to work at it a little bit, so I do have to go through and practice some things. I'm, just doing some things like that. But I mean, yeah, it's instruments. It's my piano that I bought and everything, or my mother bought it for me, and then when I was very young. And everything, and I've worked it off through chores and whatnot. So that's actually mine and everything. So, the first piano that I ever had. But yeah, so in other news, no, I'm good, man. So just here hanging out. Sorry to be a couple minutes tardy, but Miami Hurricanes played a game. We could talk about that, and have another game coming up, and all kinds of stuff. But good to be back with you guys.
I figured we'd go in both directions there, but I was also just hoping and thankful to see you on here because I figured now this was a thought to myself that, Mark, it's always best to communicate directly, meaning Cam threw out some options for times, and I was a bit vague in my response. And then as soon as I thought back about it, I thought, if he didn't necessarily get when I said kind of like, we could do either, we could do this, we could do that. I should have just said, bam, 7 o'clock. You said 7. We can do 7 there. So I'm glad to see you.
Hey, man, like I said, you guys as well. Everything is good. So let's jump into it.
Yeah, let's get into it. So the analysis on this channel and over on our Miami channel from all sides, all directions, considering the magnitude of the game, you can imagine has been has pretty much played into 3 categories from the Miami standpoint, and that's the lack of just plays made by the players on the field,
Okay.
the lack of coaching, not scheming, preparing, the blame going to the coaching, and then the officials with the 15 penalties.
I mean, all things are worthy of discussion from the Clemson game. Yeah, you know, there were obviously a dearth of plays being made by the players. So that was tough. That was really tough. And, you know, obviously, you know, you play to win the game. And that is the goal and everything. But there is an element of moral victory from not getting just, you know, railroaded, you know, just boat raced like it happened in the past. And it was, you know, shout out to the Solid Verbal guys. It was a crock potting where, you know, that high temperature from the other side took a while to fully cook through that Brunswick stew or whatever you had in there all day while you were at work, you know. So at the end, it did get to be a little bit disparate on the scoreboard. And I mean, it could have been worse, honestly. It could have been worse on the scoreboard than it was. Clemson did miss a couple of deep throws, one up the sideline to Frank Ladson, which would have been a touchdown, and he just dropped it. That was awesome. There was another one that was missed. Obviously, the decision to try the 61-yard field goal before half that Miami blocked in return for a touchdown for a 14-point swing right there, and everything. So I mean, it could have been worse. It was than it was. I mean, it was a thorough beating, but there was also, you know, that Miami was able to make them even crockpot, you know, and didn't just get microwaved, just boat raced out of the gym, is a minor victory. And again, I know the moral victories are not what we're here for. We're here for actual victories, but you know, at least, hey, you scored an offensive touchdown against Clemson for the first time since 2010. You scored touchdowns at all, including the, you know, field goal block return for the first first touchdown since 2010 against Clemson. But yeah, there was just, and I wrote it in the preview, you know, that, or in a preview thing, that we needed players to make plays. Santana Moss talking about in 2000 when they finally beat Florida State. Big time players step up in big time games. And who's going to make a play? Who's going to be that guy? And previously I'd written that about the Florida State game, you know, during that 7-year losing streak. Who's going to be the guy to step up and make a legacy play, an all-time kind of play? And for the longest time, it was nobody, you know, and then we finally got them. And against Clemson, okay, we had a couple plays, but not too many. In terms of coaching, you know, Clemson is very good, and they're good at blowing you out and just taking these huge chunks. You know, scoring from 50 and 60. Obviously, you had that Travis Etienne run, excuse me. That was 72 yards. So obviously, that was one of those electric kind of plays. But otherwise, it was paper cuts. You know, they weren't able to throw down the field because of the way that we schemed it, and they didn't try to. And this is another time where Clemson looked at what Miami did coming into the game and said, "Cool, bro, that's awesome. And we're going to do this other thing, and you're not going to stop it." And I forget the stat. It was like 19 of Trevor Lawrence's 43 throws, minus the 2 throwaways, were at or behind the line of scrimmage or something like that. Cool. So I'm not going down there, because I know what you're going to do is going to be quick. It's going to be swing passes and things like that. Get the ball out of my hands and get it to the elite playmakers we have, and they're going to make plays. And at some point, that comes down to coaching. You know, because it's an obvious, clear schematic change by Clemson to combat what we do. If you look at the Miami offense, we run inside zone or inside zone read as the foundation of the run game, and the foundation of that run game is the foundation of the offense. And then they, you know, even Rhett Lashley said after the game, he said, "I got whooped. Brett Venables, that's why that guy makes head coach money. He coached absolute circles around us. It was embarrassing." And you know, then after the game, probably I wasn't expecting them to go to a 30 front, a 3-man odd front. And everything that we did was based on them showing 40 front, because they go even fronts pretty much all the time. But going to the 30 front and having room for the linebackers to run, Skowski and everything, that's what killed that run game. If you look at the way that, and obviously, I mean, our guys, Justin DeTavio and Roman Marcianti wrote about, You know, if you look at the way that they played against the inside zone, if you go into a 30 front and the defensive end steps down inside, and then you got a guy scraping behind him and a guy behind him, it could even look to De'Aaron King like a give read. Like, I'm supposed to give this ball, or I'm supposed to keep it or whatever. And then there's another guy wearing orange right there by design. There's nothing you can do, you know, because they schemed exactly, specifically, what's the word? Bespoke. It was made specifically to fit us, and it worked with flawless accuracy all night long. Their offense, their defense. Did we miss some tackles? Yes, most of their 500 something yards, I want to say 300 something, was after yards after catch on offense and yards after contact in the run game. Got to shore that up, you know. So yeah, there were a lot of things, and then on top of that, I'm not going to say that we lost because of the referees. That would be stupid. I'm not going to do that. Yet and still, you call that targeting on Trevor Lawrence, and you got guys diving with the crown. And if you want to say that's because of the crown of the helmet, which I disagree with, but if that's going to be your foundation, there are multiple screenshots of multiple Clemson guys doing the exact same thing to De'Aaron King throughout the game that was not called. You can't have it both ways. And that's the point of conversation with the referees. If it's a penalty one way, it's a penalty the other way for the same infraction, but that's not called. And that's where you get people saying, if you wear, and I've said it and I'm saying it again, it is a penalty every day of the week and twice on Saturday for everybody except when you do it against the University of Miami. And that can't be. And again, Clemson's very good. Clemson's very talented, and I've detailed how they outplayed and outcoached and outschemed us. So again, there are plenty of reasons why Clemson earned that victory over the University of Miami. But it bears saying that there was inconsistency in the way that game was officiated. And I don't care who you are, you have to agree with that point. And that is the point that I am making. Take everything else, and if you've heard somebody else say some other things about the officiating, then bring that to them. I said what I said, and I mean it.
So one point you made regarding how to look at the loss as a Miami fan. And of course, every individual can look at a loss however they like in their evaluation of their team, their program, their expectations. So I think it's very reasonable to do two things at the same time when you talk about moral victories or not accepting moral victories. And I'm pretty well versed on this because of Florida State show as well. And they're in much worse shape, certainly, than Miami. Witness 52-10. So they're in a different place, but they're still Florida State. So you can take this attitude that we accept no losing because we are Miami or we are Florida State. Therefore, we should be the best. But I think it can be balanced between there are no moral victories. We expect to be the best. We expect to be prominent, elite. We expect to be what we've been in the past. But you need to evaluate this particular football team and have reasonable expectations, and then have reasonable expectations of progress and be okay with that to a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you have to be honest about the state of things, you know. And look, the ACC, when they redid the schedule, it's clear. They said, look, Miami is on an upward trajectory at a bare minimum, whatever you want to think about it. That had to have been the thought. So if we are redoing this schedule and we have the opportunity to then put them a legacy program, a program of relevancy, if they're going to be good or better than the past, we can hopefully get them. And look, they got what they wanted and put them against Clemson. That's a spotlight game for Trevor Lawrence. If you want to have another ACC Heisman Trophy winner, you got to have him against good teams. You got to have him in big games. So you do that schedule, and you got exactly what you wanted. You had 2 3-0 teams, 2-0 in the conference, 5 weeks into the season, game day, ABC TV primetime national television. It was the most watched Saturday night game on ESPN since the 2017 ACC championship game that featured who? Miami, and Clemson. Go look it up. ESPN Stats and Info, or not Stats and Info, the media PR people tweeted it out, and I quoted it from the State of the U account. People watch because it's a thing, and if you get that, and so this is what they had to have hoped for: 2 undefeated teams, right? Improved Miami team. We can talk about, are they back? Look, and then it worked out. Like I said, 3 weeks in a row with game day, or 3 games in a row with game day, 3 primetime games back to back to back, after including a bye in the middle there. They got the optics that they wanted by putting this game together. Miami, what was the name of the, remember, well, this might be dated. Well, y'all know I'm 39 years old, but even a little bit older than I. At one time, they called the cast of Saturday Night Live the not ready for primetime players. And if you go back and look it up, that was what they actually called the cast, the truth. Miami proved themselves as being not ready for primetime players if you're talking about super elite, legitimate, championship contending teams. And you measure yourself against the best, and I know that one of our competing websites, they said it on their Spotlight podcast. I tweeted it and wrote it. To be the man, you have to beat the man. You're not going to just slide in there. You're not all of a sudden it's going to be national champions because you've been beating the dregs of the earth or the also ran programs. You got to go up against somebody big. It's king of the mountain. I don't know if you had a hill at your high school, if you ever had at the Waldorf school in Detroit, we had a wood chip pile sometimes because they spread the wood chips over the playground. And so you would have the king of the mountain, and there would be somebody up top, and then it would be the biggest, baddest dude in school. And if you want to be the king of the mountain, you got to go up top against whoever's up there. And the only way you got to be king of the mountain is if you beat them, threw them off, whatever happened. Miami went up against the king of the mountain. Miami's down, not all the way at the bottom of the valley, but, they're not at the top because, the king of the mountain stayed the king of the mountain. But you get some good information and you hopefully use that to move forward effectively. Again, I'm not saying that I like the loss. I hate losing. I'm a competitor. I hate losing. If any of my students, Kenson Monestein, who's a former student of mine, he will tell you it can come to anything. It could come to music theory tests for my students passing. When I was a director and we had districts and we had states, bro, you haven't seen me that kind of intense because I hate losing. I hate coming up short or something like that. Yet and still, if eventually our goal and the direction of this path is to be the man, is to be the king of the mountain, is to get past Clemson, because Clemson is the program in this conference and probably nationally, the best program right now. We got to go through them. And if nothing else, we got information, self-knowledge from last week that we can use to improve ourselves so that the next time that we go up against them, we're better prepared.
Ronan, thank you for the super chat. We acknowledged that earlier and posted that to the screen along with BGPO Football Funk. I no longer stumble over that title, but it's taken me about 6 months. BGPO Football Funk, thank you so much as well. And Chug Mo Beer, let's read the comment here. Hello, Mark. 2 Miami shows in one day. Great. Let's go, Canes. Hey, I've got Cam. I got to get him on once a week. And if the Wholesome One wants to join in, I get him on. He's got great insight into Miami football. I just keep delivering what people watch. And we talk college football, talk the big games, the big teams. That's what we do. All right. The one thing I will say, Cam, and follow me on this this playoff of your take from last week. So I'm a bit surprised that you're as okay with this loss as you are, because it was my thought, my projection on this game was that it was going to be a game going into the fourth quarter, not a down to the wire last possession, 3 seconds on the clock, but going to the fourth quarter, 10-point game. I still consider that very much a game. It's a 2-score game going into the fourth quarter, and then maybe Clemson would widen it out from there, and then maybe we see 24-14 become 38-17, let's say, and there's your final score. We, after about 4 to 5 possessions, had 14-0, 14-3, 21-3, and so it seemed to get away much earlier than that, even though you could argue a 21-10 at half after the blocked kick TD, that it was still a game, that it seemed to get away earlier than what I thought we both saw as a more competitive game and thinking Miami would be in that range.
Yeah, I mean, it did get away a little bit, but I mean, you also have to play the actual situation. Like, was it lopsided in the first half? Yes. And then Dabo lost his ever-loving mind, which even he said, it was, like when they asked him going into halftime, like, what happened? He was like, I made a terrible mistake. It was the worst coaching mistake that I've made, and whatever, I'm gonna do better. I mean, yeah, I get it. It was terrible, but you're down 21-10 and you get the ball coming out in the third quarter, even with it looking a little unbalanced.
Sure.
Like you go down and score there, it's 21-17. That's a different ball game. Even with being summarily outplayed, being fairly strongly dominated in that first half, it was still that 2-score-ish game. It was 11 points at the half. Obviously come out and get 3 and out, and then Miami, it wasn't boat race. Like 58-0 and 38-3. Those were like boat. It wasn't.
It's a sound win.
It was a good win, but it wasn't boat racing. It wasn't 21-0 first quarter past the sticks. Y'all can't do nothing. I mean, look, I know that. Look, the offense really struggled and everything like that, but I mean, the defense, even though it was getting nickel and dimed and paper cut after paper cut after paper cut, I get it, but it wasn't a boat racing. It really wasn't. But yeah, it did get away from us a little earlier than maybe you or I thought it would have. And I mean, it was pretty apparent early on that it was going to take some serious yeoman work to overcome what Clemson was presenting. And I mean, I think that we both thought it was going to be more of a competitive score game early on, like going into the fourth quarter, things like that. And I'm not necessarily okay with it. But I mean, we have things that we can look at, things that we can improve, things, just things that have to change, like non-negotiables. The offensive line has to be better. And, they did pretty well through the first 3 games and gave them praise for that. This obviously was not that, and this was obviously a more talented opponent than the ones that we had gone up against previously. De'Aaron King's 2 interceptions were on 50-50 balls, and you have guys who wide receivers who are just going to the ground in any situation where the wind blows. Like you gotta have dudes out there. And I've been saying it for a long time. We got to play these young guys at wide receiver. We got to play Michael Redding III. We got to play my guy Keyshawn Smith, who had a 42-yard catch, his first catch in college on a flea flicker. And trust and believe, I was very excited about that here at the new apartment when that happened. I know met a couple of my neighbors the next day. Oh, hey, I get a little loud sometimes. Sorry about that. But I mean, those are guys who are not scared. Those are guys who are not climatized to whatever's going on in this wide receiver room, and that just has to be better as well. You had some drops. Obviously, you scheme up ways where you have Brevin Jordan triple covered, so who else is going to make a play? And if you're talking about things in the passing game, obviously the run game had 10 carries or 11 carries for 10 yards from non-De'Aaron King running backs or non-quarterbacks on the day. And De'Aaron King had 84 yards and 56 of them came on that one large scramble. You know what I mean? And another 20 of them came on another scramble. So you're talking about all of those other runs and sacks and things for a modicum of yards. Look, there are things that need to improve clearly. And I mean, I was pretty plain about it in the good, the bad, and the ugly, but I mean, it's not that I like it, but there are things, there's a laundry list of things to improve. And, when it became pretty apparent that Miami was going to lose, then, like I said, I hate it, but we just had to turn our focus moving forward.
Miami Hurricanes Live with Cam Underwood from State of the U, stateoftheu.com. Head on over there for Miami football coverage. Do it tonight. Get set for the Pitt game on Saturday at noon Eastern time. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Lock it in right here as well. We got you covered. Alabama, Georgia. We'll do post game right after the game right here live with you. We'll take your calls, so forth and so on. We've got all the big games covered. All right. The season's not over, folks. I know Miami fans were in the dumps. We did some post game here. I'm sure Cam heard 10 times more than I did.
Oh, yeah.
The season's not over. You're 3-1. Any reasonable person would have thought right now you would be 3-1. Actually, if you looked at football power indexes and such, you would thought that actually Louisville, if you went, now that I think about it, you would be 1-3 right now. According to the crazy football power index, that doesn't make any sense.
Right. I mean, exactly. So, but everybody, and I wrote it when the new schedule or the reworked schedule came out. It said the goal is 3-0 going into Clemson, period. And then you shoot your shot. We shot our shot and we missed it, but we got there in that state. And you can't really be too mad at that.
I don't remember the number on the Florida State game preseason, but the preseason number on Louisville, and I brought it up here because I just shook my head about 50,000 times as fast as I could, 17% to beat Louisville, and it was something like 30% against Florida State. It was ridiculous.
It was in the 20s, yeah.
Something like, it was. I think it was like 73-27.
It was like a 1 in 6 chance to beat Louisville, a 1 in 4.5 chance to beat Florida State going into the season. That's what things were. But again, based upon what we saw at the end of last season,
I guess
Miami was pretty terrible.
I guess,
but no, I mean the season's not over, and actually that's a piece that I wrote over the last couple of days. I published it this morning. I finished it last night. You cannot let them beat you twice. And that has been a thing that Miami has done over the course of the last 5 years in multiple instances where they lost spotlight kind of games. So 3 of them against Florida State, the Pittsburgh game in 2017, and then following the win against Florida State in 2018. Those were the 5 instances that I spoke of. And after those games, Miami's 0-14. That's terrible. And then if you look at what Clemson's opponents have done in the week after playing them over the last 5 years as well, it's 4-28, 4-27, I want to say, the week after playing Clemson. And that's 1-35 against Clemson, because the only team from the Atlantic that has beaten Clemson was Syracuse, and they've gone 0-5 the week after they played Clemson, or 0-6. So every time that they play Clemson the next week, body blow. It's not there. So you have Miami, who loses games consistently, or lets one loss beget other losses over the course of the last few years. And then you have whoever plays Clemson and pretty much all the time loses the next week pretty strongly, 3 out of 4 times, they're going to lose that next week as well. So Miami has to rally here. Miami has to find a way to not let this one loss get them again. Because if you're focusing in the rearview mirror, that's what's going to happen. If you're doing what we're doing and still saying, man, against Clemson, or there was this play or that play, or I'm Amari Carter and I got ejected for targeting again, and it's every week with this guy. He hits like a Mack truck, but sometimes, come on, buddy, really, every week, you know what I mean? But or every other, pretty much. But you have all these things. If you're looking strongly and exclusively in the rearview mirror, Clemson's going to beat you again. And again, we've seen this. And I said it with Florida State for many years. You cannot let Florida State beat you again. Florida State, we lost to them, and then we lost multiple other games. 3 out of the 6 years, or 3 out of the 7 years in that losing streak. If you look at other games, even though we beat them in 2018, that was a game where we snatched victory from the hands of defeat, because they were up 27-7. And if they didn't, if they knew how to run a double pass and didn't throw 2 forward passes, we're down 34 or 35-7 and 34-7, and it's a wrap. And even after that game, we lost 4 more consecutive games. You know what I mean? It's just, it's going to be a tough task to recenter and refocus. But if you're going to be a good team, that's what you do. And if you're going to be real about what happened, you're going to take the lessons from last week, you're going to apply them, and you're going to get back to the business of winning right now. Because I know, look, Clemson is one of, if not the best team and program in America. Pittsburgh does not have that kind of talent. They're very good. They have a strong defense, and they're playing very well. But Pittsburgh ain't no Clemson. Because if Pittsburgh was Clemson, we would know it. Has Pittsburgh beaten Clemson? Sure. Okay. Okay.
5 years ago. Yes, they beat them.
Exactly. But you have work to do this week to keep this season going in the same direction. Talk is Pitt. I hear you. Your defense is ranked number 1 in ACC. I get you. I'm not saying that you guys do not have a worthy team. This is not going to be a walkover. I'm not saying that. I'm not super Miami dude, bro. Like, oh yeah, bro. Like, it's Pittsburgh, bro. Like, no. I'm not saying any of that. But if you're going to move forward and have the kind of season that you still can, it's going to take singular focus this week on Pittsburgh and not having against Clemson. You don't want to have that, like where you have a conversation or a phone call or whatever, even things like this. And I do this sometimes where like I get off of here and I think, oh man, I could have said, or I could have. If you're still thinking about that during the Pittsburgh game against Clemson, you've already lost. So it's going to really take some centering of everybody in this organization to move forward in an appropriate way, because Pittsburgh, like you were saying, has things to like, has a team that is going to be competitive.
Yeah, Pitt is now 3-2. And as I have stated for years, going back to about 2016 to 17, when Florida State fell off the cliff, I can't make anything out of the ACC past Clemson. Now, right. Miami could still prove to be that team. Notre Dame, they're kind of in a different category because I don't consider them to be in the ACC, but right. are this particular season. And for right now, they appear to be the second best team. And North Carolina certainly has that opportunity as well. But as for the NC States and the Boston Colleges and the Pitts and the Georgia Techs even now playing much better, really took it to Louisville the other night. Man, these teams can beat each other back and forth. We don't know who's going to show up on a given week. So Pitt comes out, they look really good for 3 weeks. They win 3 games, and the last 2 have been heartbreakers. They lose to a really good quarterback in Phil Jerkovich, Notre Dame transfer, 31-30 on a missed extra point in overtime.
Yikes.
Way to lose. Yeah. Week before, they lose to NC State, who everybody thought was awful, coming off 1-7 last year in the ACC, but now NC State's at 3-1 and showing some life. It's the ACC.
I mean, it's topsy-turvy and everything. And I mean, even with Pittsburgh, like you said, they've lost a couple of games and they haven't been lights out all of the time. They have not. But yeah, it's going to take, we got to move forward and we have to really look at them strongly. And again, obviously we've seen what they're going to do. They're going to play press man across the board. And they're going to say, you got to hit some vertical throws if you want to beat us. They've done that every year that Narduzzi's been there. 16, we beat them. 2017, we went in at 10-0 and number 2 in the country. That blew our perfect season, because we couldn't do that, and people had been putting Malik Rozier in that situation of having to hit vertical passes all year. And he would bring out like a pass, or a play enough to get by that season. That was, tied or down at half or only 10-7 or whatever it was at a very bad North Carolina team. Jeff Thomas comes out first play of the second half, double move, boom, gone, and you hit that throw, and then that eases the pressure a little bit. So 2017, Pittsburgh did that. 2018, 2019, they were doing the same thing and had Miami beat until KJ Osborne was the guy to make the play, the singular play that was enough to get Miami over that hump. So we know what they're going to do defensively. And we know that they got a good defensive mind. We know that they got a sound scheme. And look, they're going to do that. They're going to say, hey, you got to hit these vertical throws if you want to beat us, because we're going to crash against everything else and take these other things away that you do well or want to do well. And, we got to see if Miami's able to do that. So it's going to be a game that's really going to be, this is going to test the temerity of the Hurricanes.
Cam's got a heart out at 8 o'clock Eastern time, so I want to make sure that we get a couple questions in here because they are attached to Super Chat contributions.
Well, I can go over a couple minutes because I was a couple minutes late.
We appreciate it. So I do want to get this little side note in because I think it's very rare, especially these days, to face a quarterback for a 4th time, and that's what Miami will do this Saturday in facing Kenny Pickett, who, of course...
Maybe. Because there have been rumblings
Yeah.
And I may have heard from a source that there's a growing likelihood that Kenny Pickett is not going to play this week. And I think that that's why the line has moved the way that it has from 10 or 10 and a half to 14.
That's a
there.
huge move.
And I got off from the secret day job and I was like, okay, like I haven't DM'd with this person in quite a while, but let's see what person X has to say. And that was the information. I've been trying to chase it down and see if I can hear it from somebody else. But this is, quote unquote, someone who would know and someone who I implicitly trust in this industry based upon the job that they do. So hearing that Kenny Pickett may not play could be a major impact. And it's, like I said, it's looking more and more likely according to what I've heard. But if not, then that would be the fourth time that we've faced off against Kenny Pickett. His first career start was 2017 against 10-0 Miami, and the precocious freshman is not scared of the moment because he's 18 and whatever, and I'm just going to go out there and run around and throw the ball and end up, slaying the undefeated Hurricanes and having a party in Pittsburgh and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to play against him for, that fourth year and everything. And we know pretty strongly what he is. He's going to run around a little bit. He's going to make some plays with his legs, and he's going to distribute the ball timely fashion to some fast receivers that they have, on that roster, and try to, take advantage of some situations. He could put the ball in harm's way, just because that's a thing that he does from time to time, even though he has beaten Miami a couple of times in his career. And obviously, like I said, had Pittsburgh in a position to win last year. Or it was only the one time, that's right. But still, it feels like more. That 2017 loss feels like it was 2 or 3. But yeah, so I mean, it would be interesting to see us go against him for a fourth year. And technically, since this season does not count towards eligibility, he could come back for a fifth time against Miami. But he would not be 0-5 against Miami were he to come back, unlike Chris Ricks from Florida State, who is my still favorite Florida State quarterback ever. Go Noles.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett hit the field against Virginia Tech the week before and almost pulled out a game, and then bam, makes his first career start again at Heinz Field, 4-7 Pitt, 10-0 Miami. All right, the Canes blog. Appreciate the super chat contribution. And we will get this question to Cam. Do you think the penalty issue can be cleaned up quickly, or is that part of the culture that's still going to take some time to fix?
It damn well better be. I mean, because you have all these pre-snap penalties and things. I leave the stats pulled up from the previous game until I connect with Mark and do this. So if I go to away and I go to penalties, I mean, yeah, you have 8 offensive penalties, 1 false start, 2 false start, 3 offsides on offense, false start, illegal procedure, and then a holding, and then illegal formation. Oh, that's cool. And then on defense, also offsides, defensive holding, personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct, personal foul. Like, no, that's no. So you have pre-snap things, and then you just have discipline things, man. Like unsportsmanlike conduct, bro. Like really, like personal foul. What are you doing? And I know a couple of those are the targetings and everything. I don't agree with. I mean, the Amari Carter targeting. Okay, yeah, it's your bi-weekly Amari Carter destroys somebody and goes to the showers moment. The other targeting on Trevor Lawrence, it's a bullshit call, plain and simple. And I'm not scared or reticent about my language either. It was a straight bullshit call. That's a reputation call. That's a NFL superstar quarterback call. That was not targeting. Because again, we've seen multiple times, and there's screenshots of them, of De'Aaron King in the pocket being hit in similar ways. Not De'Aaron King down the field as a runner. But then again, if you're talking about leading with the helmet and crown and things like that, it doesn't matter if you're a runner or if you're a quarterback. That's still targeting. No, but no, there better be some guys. I don't know if there's a hill in Miami. I don't know if they got to take them out to Tropical Park. I don't know if they're going to go to the sand pit or to the beach and really, really shred them or whatever. But no, you cannot have these penalties, period. And against UAB, you didn't. Against Florida State or against Louisville, they crept up. Against Florida State, they were pretty darn bad. And then I wrote they need to get under control. And then against Clemson, the penalty issues were worse than they were against Florida State. I said, in the good, the bad, the ugly, after Florida State, I said, we're not going to beat a good team with these kind of penalties. If we have those kind of penalties, or that amount of penalties, 15 for 135 or whatever it was, if we have those same amount of penalties this week against Pittsburgh, we're not going to win, period. So something has to be done. And, I mean, if it's accountability, if it's having guys see the bench, if it's whatever post-practice conditioning, whatever you want to call it, something got to get done because it's unsustainable, and if you think back to the that 1991 Cotton Bowl against Texas, Miami had the kind of team and said, look, you could penalize us 500 yards. I mean, no difference. We can overcome all of that. Because why? Because we're dancing, we're celebrating, we're doing backflips, high fives, all kinds of stuff. We're doing 6 shooters out of the end zone because, hey, it's not my fault my hands were there. It wasn't my fault he was playing press man, couldn't cover me. It wasn't my fault they left the doors open to the tunnel. You can do all those kind of things because that was that kind of team. This ain't that kind of team. We don't have that kind of talent to overcome those kind of things. So something has to get done, period. Or we're going to lose more games. Point of fact. Date it, clip that, whatever you want to do. Save that right there. If we don't address these issues, we're losing more games, plural, this year, period.
I'm old enough to have remembered watching that and remembering the comments from the commentators, which I felt as I'll date myself, 22-year-old at the time, were amusing. And I had no rooting interest in the game. I'm just watching the Cotton Bowl that Miami, could just put it in everybody's face and didn't care. And it was to the extreme that the announcers at CBS actually were just berating them throughout the game about how lack of respect they had for the game and the opponent and so forth. And then we were reminded of that during the documentary.
I mean, I don't remember watching that at 9 going on 10. I want to say, or anything, but we all know that we've seen it from the U, like, oh, they're terrible, they, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But we were them dudes. It didn't matter. 15, all right. What's that line for the Mighty Ducks? 2 minutes, well, worth it. Hey, penalize me. Do what you got to do. I don't care because we're gonna win. I'm bigger than them, I'm faster than them, I'm stronger than them. We already knocked out their starting wide receiver, running back on the opening kickoff. What's his name? Number 23, Robert, whatever, coming down saying, yo, I'm going to knock somebody out on the first play. And did. You know what I mean? Look, we were those guys. It didn't matter what you called. Penalties? Penalties going to stop us? Miami? Nah. Not never. But that was a different kind of team. So for this team, which doesn't have that cachet, they're not last year's LSU. We're not 2001 Miami. This year's Clemson or all these other legendary teams that have come through recently. We're not those guys. So we cannot overcome those things. It's a thing where in the past, could Miami have overcome that offsides and dropped interception on the first drive by Quincy Roche and gotten a stop and got the ball, another 3 plays and okay, we're going to punt the ball. They got another 20 yards, but they didn't get 7 points. Could that have been a thing? Yes. I don't necessarily think that Miami has that in them, to overcome all of these penalties time and time again. So, there has to be something done about the penalties because that kind of the penalties that we've seen over the last 3 games, plain and simple, are unsustainable for success. And everybody that you play is not going to be Louisville with one of the most porous defenses in America who you hit for, 47 this year and 52 last year. You're not going to see them many times. Or 52 last year, 40-something this year. You're not going to see a Florida State team. And Florida State that's looking a little bit rejuvenated since playing Miami. So that might have been rock bottom that we saw in that game. Like I said, that was an outlier this year. They were terrible. But you're not going to see terrible teams like that anymore. So to keep winning, we have to play winning football. And all these penalties, especially these targeting and things like that. I mean, look, shout out to Brian Balaam, my former student, getting clock in the first half at Clemson, I mean, he's out there and doing his thing. Did he blow the one coverage that should have been a touchdown and Frank Latson just dropped the ball? Yeah, and you saw it. He was like, okay, hey, I'm going here. Wait, and everybody there were 10 guys running the right defense, and we're playing cover 2, and he's supposed to have the deep half, and he's playing like we're playing cover 4 or something. I don't even know. And then he's, oh, shoot. But why is he out there? Because Amari Carter got a targeting, and he's gone. And Gervin Hall had a targeting against Florida State, so he's sitting out the first half. So now, of those 3 NFL players we have at safety, including Bubba Bolden, only one of them is out there. And now we got to put a true freshman out there. And look, good for him to get the experience, but man, the moment was a little big for him. You know what I mean? And there are 2 penalties right there that had an adverse effect on the product on the field, because you take 2 of your better defenders, and then they're hitting the showers, or they're unable to play through the first half of the game, to the point where we're having to put a true freshman in there at a position. And obviously they schemed it up where, hey, we're going to go and we're going to motion this, and we're going to hope they get to a too high look. And if he doesn't get the check, which he didn't, should have been 6, should have been queuing up the bang. We saw Dabble pretty upset at Frank Lasser for dropping that ball. Those are direct results of penalties. We don't have that kind of team to overcome those things. Against Louisville, could we and did we? Yes. Against a terrible Florida State, one of the worst Florida State teams that we've seen, and that performance from them was one of the worst we've ever seen. Could we overcome that? Yes. Against even marginal teams, average teams on the other side going forward, we're not going to be able to make, to bridge that gap. So we have to do better, period.
Chuck Mobeer, we'll get to you in 2 seconds. David Knight has corrected me on the pronunciation of the Boston College quarterback's name about 10 times, and I will finally get it at some point. Jerkovic, not Jerkovich. My bad. I continue to do that. Chuck Mobeer, thank you so much for kicking in with the super chat. Cam, is linebacker the biggest need for Miami in recruiting, and is playing the 4-2-5 defense hurt them in getting the top linebackers? Let's go Canes.
Linebacker is an issue. It's not the biggest issue, I don't think. And I don't think, it's 4-3, 4-2-5-ish, but I don't think it's keeping us from getting those guys, because we got a couple of good ones. Tyreek Austin-Cave is playing well in the action he's gotten. Corey Flagg is a true freshman, played very well. But we got to play the athletic guys, and I said that we should be more athletic at linebacker, but we keep, there's other positions where this has been true. It's seniority over anything. And with all due respect to guys who are a little older on the roster, they're younger, more athletic guys who I think are better players and better fits for what we want to do. Sam Brooks should be starting, to be perfectly honest. And I know that either Manny Diaz, or I think it was Manny Diaz, kind of hedged and was like, oh, he's been battling a foot thing, so that's why he's not playing more. If he's not battling the foot thing, he needs to be starting. I'm sorry. And you have guys who are exposed in space. Bradley Jennings Jr., he's good as a run stopper going forward, but you put him in space, pretty bad. If you look at Zach McLeod even in space, he's supposed to be this athletic dude. That's another throw that Trevor Lawrence missed, going up the sideline on a wheel route-ish thing, where ETN was not, he didn't see the ball or something, but he was wide open and 3 steps past Zach McLeod and everything. So, we got guys who need to play. Sam Brooks, Avery Huff, he's a cyborg out there, man. He's big, he's fast, he's strong. Like, why is he not playing? Why are we not putting guys who can play in space there, especially when other teams are putting us and having them go in space? And before you say, okay, well, you can't do it all, Sam Brooks started in the bowl game and led the team with 12 tackles last year. So if you're saying that he can, and a lot of those are in run situations against Louisiana Tech, because they weren't just going to go fast and scheme him up into space. So I've seen it from him. You know what I mean? And if you're not getting that performance consistently out of that player, and we've seen that kind of performance, then you need to look at the coaching staff and not the player. Period, point blank. So, Sam Brooks is a guy who needs to play. There are other guys who need to play at multiple positions, I think. I think a wide receiver, we've seen a lot of the experiment and the impetus to try to get some of these older guys to be the guy at wide receiver. That ain't happening, kid. So let's put some of these young guys in there. It could be like Kenny Pickett against Miami in 2017. Maybe they're too young to know the gravity of the moment, and they just go in there and they do the job. Amon Richards, you know what I mean? Freshman record here at Miami for receiving yards in the season as a freshman. Hey, maybe you put these guys out there. But I think that there are a couple of positions where, we're running out there in terms of seniority and everything, and it's a little comfortable for the coaches to do that. And I think that they get a false sense of security because, the older guys know what to do in practice, so they look better in practice, but they look like this in the ball game. So I'm going to go to somebody else and give them an opportunity because regardless, not necessarily regardless, but I know what they're doing on the practice field is what you want the coaches to do, but if they're not doing it in the game, that means they're not doing it. So even if you're seeing some things that you like during the week, I need to see other guys during the game. And hey, look, there are practice players and there's gamers. So some guys might not be the best guy in practice and then show up in the game and then make some plays. Obviously, you want that consistent performance all the way across the board, but you're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds. You're not going to have consistent performance every single day. That's just the way that it is. But I think linebacker is an issue in recruiting and on this roster. And again, I would like to see some of the younger guys play. Wide receivers, the same thing. And offensive line, when going up against a talented group, some things were exposed there. And there's cornerback as well with depth issues because we only played 3 corners this week. DJ Ivey, Al Blaze Jr., and Corey Couch. And hey, shout out to DJ Ivey for doing a lot better because he got lit on fire in that UAB game. And people, myself included, were openly talking about, hey, maybe we need to move in a different direction. Chris Williams transfers out of the program, and DJ Ivey has played very well. He had that kickoff or that blocked kick return touchdown. He had a couple good PBUs and things like that. He's stepping up, but we should be able to play more than 3 cornerbacks. Go back to the previous comment real quick. The Jackson Carman. I don't know if it's still there. You're able to see it.
Carman.
Yeah, it says something for 5-star thing. Jackson Carman got benched, I want to say.
Oh, man.
But even if you can't find it, that comment supports what I'm saying. Because Jackson Carman was a 5-star left tackle, offensive tackle from Ohio. He goes down to Clemson. He's starting at left tackle now. He got beat by Quincy Roche a couple times. He had 2 holding penalties against Quincy Roche and everything. And for a time during that game, he got benched by Dabo, saying, hey, you're not doing the job well enough, so I'm going to find somebody else who can. Where is that with our coaches? And I know that Keyshawn Smith had 12 snaps. He had 1 target. So if you're getting these snaps and not getting a target and not being a decoy or anything, are those snaps really valuable? When you're still running out there with other guys and then giving them the targets and things like that. Look, Miami's receivers have not been up to the task, period. They've been missing in action. When was the last time that we mossed somebody? We just jumped over a guy. Lawrence Cager in the 2018 season, probably. Maybe in 2017. But no, that's the last time that we had a guy went, yo, I'm going to go get that. Get off of me. Give me that. Remember that Orange Bowl when that's all Wisconsin's wide receivers did? They had 50-50 balls all day long, and they caught every single one, and they had like a 24-yard per target average because they went up and got it, shrugged the guy to the ground, and high-stepped into the end zone. Where are those dogs on the outside for Miami? And this is the Miami Hurricanes we're talking about, yo. The Miami Hurricanes, wide receivers. And we got these paper soft dudes, man. Soft serve, like a kid that I played basketball with in middle school and high school named Purvis. And he got sent to the bench because coach called him soft serve. Why? Because his passes were like soft serve ice cream. Purvis, I can't have you out here. No, if you're going to pass it, throw it. Chest pass. Give me some on that pass. Because if we're running motion and everything and you got a defender coming off of a down screen, he's trying to shoot that gap. So that ball cannot be over there. You got to throw that. But we got these soft serve behind wide receivers who are looking for any reason to go to the ground in a 50-50 situation, any kind of physical defense. I'm going to crumble. I'm looking for the flag. Look, if I see D. Wiggins try to call for a flag again, I'm going to lose my goddamn mind. And you look back there, you could do a supercut of this year of number 8 in one-on-one coverage going up the sideline, getting feet tangled up or incidental contact or getting, just hand fighting and going to the ground and trying to, yo, go make a play. Go make a play. Please. Somebody. Because we can't, there are a couple positions on this team where I think that we need to go with a youth movement because there's the talent there to improve the performance. And I've called some names. So go back and look because there's names in this video.
I would like to say Cam's in rare form, but he's really not. He brings it every time.
Same.
Brings it all the time. It's great to hear. Tons of comments in the live chat. Great show. That's all due to Cam. I'm just here to host and kick it off to him and let him roll.
Teamwork makes the dream work, Mark. It's us together.
So yeah. Cam's MJ and I'm who am I? BJ Armstrong.
BJ Armstrong from Detroit, Michigan, and went to Brother Rice High School. Whoop whoop. What's up?
Went to Iowa, didn't he?
He went to Iowa for college, but yeah, he went to Brother Rice, which is let me see, Lone Pine is 18, and that's south of Maple, so 3.5 miles away from Cranbrook down the same road. Which, if you don't know, I went to Cranbrook. It's a private school. That's honestly and truly my alma mater. Aim high.
All right, good stuff. I don't see anything else in here.
To the Pittsburgh comment, if you were going to say between Clemson, Miami, and Notre Dame, who would you pick them to beat this year? Of those three, I would pick them to beat Miami. I'm not, but I don't think that they would really be. I mean, I think they would compete against Miami and Notre Dame. I don't think that would be close if and when Pittsburgh were to play Clemson. But it wasn't necessarily close when Miami played Clemson either. So, we'll see. And it also depends on the Kenny Pickett thing. So, I don't know if you heard her here first, but you might have. But he may or may not play this week. So we'll see.
So I know the line opened at 10 or 10.5. We had a betting guy that we have on every week. We had him on this afternoon, and he throws out 13.5 to 14. And I was like, that a 10-point line usually doesn't move to 14 unless there's something going on, especially when Miami's coming off a 25-point loss and Pitt's not bad. 10 seemed reasonable.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's 14.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. So, but regardless of who plays quarterback, obviously we've seen with Kenny Pickett in his freshman year going to the bench for somebody who has little to no experience, didn't change the outcome. And it did change the outcome in their favor. So I'm not going to sit here and all of a sudden say, okay, going to their backup or whoever would play is an automatic guaranteed win for Miami, because we've seen the opposite. So just like Demetrius Abrams said, the Canes need to focus on beating the Pittsburgh Panthers. Yeah, that's it. Everything else, obviously coaches are going to be recruiting. Bradley Jennings' younger brother just decommitted from Florida State, and he's down to Clemson, Miami, and LSU, and he's going to announce tomorrow, I want to say, at noontime, where he's going to commit. So it's a thing, obviously, where he's been thinking of dropping from FSU for a while and is making a quick move towards wherever else he wants to be committed. Maybe he follows his brother to Miami, and I know that the family is from South Florida. Bradley Jennings is from Miami and went to Florida State, so hey, he'll just have to wear more orange and green polos and everything, because that's what he dressed up in when Bradley Jr. committed to Miami. He said, "I'm not going to wear that logo, but I'll wear the colors to support my son." But that's about as far with it as I'm going to go as a FSU alum, and I respect that, I understand that. But hey, maybe the younger brother wants to do that as well. There's other guys that we're chasing after. USC just offered another 2021 quarterback, so that's brought the Jake Garcia recruitment into question potentially, because it's a guy that they've had on the back burner, USC, that is, a quarterback for a while. So he's, they've been talking to him and everything. Oh yeah, Michigan is the other one, Brian Luciano. That's true. Michigan, Clemson, and Miami are Jennings' final three. But yeah, the quarterback is a guy that USC's had on the back burner, still talking to him, and all of a sudden, bang, he gets an offer. So you're like, wait a minute. So if you have an offer, which, if he's tweeting it out like it's committable and everything, what's changed in the situation if you have Miller Moss and Jake Garcia committed to then offer a third quarterback in a committable kind of way? It would seem. So who knows? But yeah, coaches are going to recruit and everything. But I know that there just had to be strong, focused work this week. Because, yeah, man, we cannot let Clemson beat us twice. And if we're going to be the team that we want to be, it starts with a win this week, bouncing back and then moving forward.
The rating numbers on Brandon Jennings: 6th rated outside linebacker in the country, 13th rated player in Florida, top 82 player. That's up there. Number 82 in the nation, according to the composite out of Jacksonville, Florida. Sandalwood High School.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, a big time linebacker. Obviously, Miami has been rumored to be in communication with Terrence Lewis, a 5-star from Miami Central, formerly of Miami Northwestern, formerly of Chaminade, formerly of Miami Northwestern. Yes, I said Miami Northwestern in 2 separate instances because he was there and left and went back to all that kinds of things. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously going to be things going on behind the scenes, but the front and center focus does have to be beating Pittsburgh and just getting back on the winning path.
Folks, share these videos on social media. You have media influence out there, social media influence that neither Cam nor I do. You can get those out there. Like, comment, share the videos as well. Subscribe, of course. And let's conclude with, we got the super chat coming in from Torian. And so there's been much talk about Amari Carter. Cam, you agree that Amari should have been moved to striker, and we had Amari Carter at striker, Sam Brooks in the middle.
I think Sam Brooks needs to play. Look, man, Gilbert Frierson and Keontre Smith are doing a great job at striker. We're not talking enough about what Gilbert Frierson is turning into in front of our eyes at the striker position. I mean, he was the best defender not named Bubba Bolden against Clemson. And there's an argument to be made that he even had a better game on defense. Now, Bubba Bolden did have the 2 blocked field goals as well. But, I mean, you had, 8 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. You got Travis Etienne in space for loss a couple of times out there, man. You got a PBU down the field, 40 yards down the field for when you flip your hips and you have vertical coverage from an inside slot there. Gilbert Frierson's doing a great job, man, a great job. And we're not talking enough about him. So to say 100%, okay, just put Amari Carter there and everything, to be perfectly honest, what have you seen from Amari Carter that makes you think he would be better at that slot than Gilbert Frierson? I know that we're thinking, okay, going forward and in run supported, him knocking heads and being a Mack truck hitting people, but I don't know. I cannot 100% agree with that one. I will, however, agree with the second end part that regardless, Sam Brooks needs to be out there because, and I said it before the season, we wrote it on the site, Miami's strength at linebacker this year is the increased athleticism of the group. But you're playing some guys that are not the ones with the increased athleticism. So if that is the strength of that group, but you're not playing the guys who possess that trait and talent that is the strength of the group, what are you really doing?
I certainly agree with this comment. Michael Love, great content. Mark and Cam. Cam does all the work. He supplies it all here. I do the rest of the time here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. This is our Miami show, and this means you need to subscribe because you never know when Cam and I can get our schedules together so we can bring you our best edition of Miami Hurricanes Live with Cam. And this turned out to be a Thursday night. Who knows next week? Therefore, you subscribe, you hit the bell for the notifications, and you also head on over to stateoftheu.com. Get yourself ready for Miami and Pitt at noon Eastern time on Saturday. Michael Love, thank you. And, of course, I will have to say it just one more time, or maybe I will say it many more times, the best avatar that we have here on Rogers TV, Michael Love, looking sharp.
Absolutely, man. That's a great headset or headshot. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it and everything. So come on over to stateoftheu.com. We have a great group, and even in the aftermath of the Clemson game, we're still there, evaluating the performance and everything. And I think that some of our best content, honestly, has been this week. So check us out over there. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at the State of the U. At Underwood Sports is my personal Twitter account. And then again, the website is stateoftheu.com. Please come on over and fan with us, and we'll see you soon.
Ohio State football talk at 1 o'clock Eastern time live tomorrow. And, of course, we'll be all over it on Saturday. Cam, as always, you deliver. Thank you so much for stopping by.
No problem. We'll see you guys.